Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dear Mr. Richard, welcome to Tampere and Finland.
Thank you very much. Nice to be here. Again, I've been here before, you know.
Yeah, so I remember. This is your third?
Well, I think it's maybe my fourth visit, because I've been here a couple of times to do TV. I remember I played in Helsinki, in Finland, many years ago with the Shadows, to one of the biggest audiences I've ever played to, about 20 or 30,000 people in a great big folk park or something like that. But that was many years ago. That was before you were born.
It wasn't.
I wasn't.
I can tell you, you were one of my first idols.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you disappointed?
No. That's true. No, okay. You're making a tour now.
Yes.
And this is part of the tour.
A television tour. It's not for concerts. You know, I have a new album called Silver, and of course a new single. So when you have a new record out, the record company like you to go and sing your songs on the television show. So I've been everywhere. I've been to Holland, to Sweden. I've been to Norway, Finland now. I go next week to Portugal and Brussels in Belgium. Many places.
Hotel rooms.
Hotel rooms and studios and inside the car. That's all I really ever see.
Is that nice?
Well, it's not too bad, you know. I mean, there are many people who are working in jobs that are much worse than mine. And so when I wake up, for instance, in Tampere, I open the windows and there's all that snow and a big lake and the sun is shining. At least I can go home and say I've seen a beautiful view. Many people don't even have very nice views.
But it's not that glamorous that one usually thinks. Big parties every night and...
Well, it could be. I could have big parties every night, but I don't really like that, you know. I used to, when I was younger, go to lots of parties, but as I grew older, I thought, I'm wasting my time here. I'd rather go to sleep and wake up a little bit earlier in the morning and play some tennis or something, you know. So that's what I do now. I don't really go out.
Clever guy. Let's go back, way back, to, shall we say, 58.
Yeah, that's way back. That's when I started.
That's when Cliff Richard was born, really. So he's 22 now?
25.
58.
58.
Oh, yeah. You're right. Good.
He does not count so good.
No. And that was when Cliff Richard was born. How did that happen? He just popped out?
Yeah, well, kind of, you know. I'm sure here in all the Scandinavian, the whole of Europe, it was the same as in the UK, the United Kingdom. Elvis became very well known, and many of us boys at school, we tried to look like Elvis, you know.
You did?
Well, I tried to look like him a little. In the very early days, I really did try. And he was an inspiration to many of us, you know.
Yeah.
Tommy Steele, Billy Fury, Marty Wilde, Cliff Richard, we all loved Elvis a great deal. So
Tommy Steele also?
Yeah, Tommy Steele was really the first British rock and roll singer. But
was he a rock and roller?
Not really. I'm saying he came in on the rock and roll. He sang rock and roll, British rock and roll songs. And they were not so good, really. Tommy Steele is a very clever man. I think he realized that he could not succeed singing rock and roll. So he's now one of probably Britain's top performers. He is always in London. He's now performing in a very big show, and he's a very energetic performer. He never walks if he can run or jump.
One could think this is a Tommy Steele show.
No, I mean, he's very good, and I don't mind saying so.
You're not promoting Tommy Steele, are you?
No, I'm not. No, I'm really promoting me. I'm better than Tommy Steele.
That's right.
No, he's very, very good. And what I was saying, though, he realized that he could not sing rock and roll as well as Billy Fury, Marty, and myself. So he left it. And that's how I came about. I wanted to be like Elvis. But after, I don't know, maybe 1 year, I realized that I could not live my life under Elvis.
Yeah.
So I began to formulate my own style and make my own music, which of course the Shadows helped me do.
Oh, quite a bit.
Oh yeah, they were a fantastic band. They still are.
How do you meet with the Shadows? Well, you played before you met the Shadows. You had some kind of a skiffle group. Or?
Yeah, we were called the Drifters, you see. The first time I sang, do you know what skiffle is here in this country, skiffle music? It's the old, it's like...
It's washboard music.
Yes, it was sort of homemade music, you know. You took a chest of wood box and you put the broom handle into it with a piece of string, and when you pulled the broom handle, it got tighter, so it went... Very
kind
bad
of a jug band.
Yeah, right. So I sang for one of these, but I didn't really like the music. And a friend of mine at school said, why don't we start a rock and roll band? He was a drummer. So the very first Drifters was myself and two of my friends from school. When I made my first record, it was not with the band that you now know as the Shadows. It was two of my friends from school, plus two musicians, two professional musicians. And I met the Shadows, really, Hank and Bruce, when I went on my first tour. You know, I suddenly found I was having to perform in front of 2,000 people, and I thought, only last year I was still in school, this year I'm facing people and they're all going, ah, and it's very nice. But I was really scared, so I looked for some guitarists, and a friend of mine who was my manager at that time found Hank, and he found Bruce Welch. On that same tour, we met a man called Jet Harris who played bass. He joined us, and the three of them remembered a young drummer called Tony Meehan.
Yeah.
And that was the first band, the Drifters, that the public knew, after my school band. And then, of course, we changed our name to the Shadows because there was an American band called the Drifters, and they had already been the Drifters for many years. So we changed our name to the Shadows.
If we go further back to a person you know pretty well, or you remember pretty well, is Harry Webb.
I know him pretty well.
Yeah. What can you tell us about the kid, Harry Webb? Did he know he was going to be an artist? Did he always want to be that, or did he have other plans?
He always wanted to be, but he didn't know. I mean, because most people that want something when they're very young don't know they're going to get it. Of course not, because the one thing about our industry is that it's totally unpredictable. I cannot today guarantee that any of my songs will be hits. I'm very lucky that many of my songs have been hit songs, but you will never know. So that when I was 13 and 14 and I first heard Elvis, oh, I wanted so much to be like him. But I did not know that I would be. So I just, I chased it though. I fought for it, and I formed bands, and I sang in all these little pubs and clubs in my hometown. Then I went into London and sang again, and finally I got an audition with my record company, EMI, with a wonderful man who's now dead, called Norrie Paramore. And he gave me my first contract, and it began. And it began big,
Yeah.
It began with my first record. It made #2, a song called Move It. And many people, you see, record and sing and perform for many, many years before they really become famous. But the Shadows and I began with a song called Move It. It went straight up.
Was it because you were a rock and roller? Really?
I think so. Our country...
You were the first rock and roller in. Can I have a glass of water?
Yeah, someone get him a glass of water.
Please.
He's always coughing when I'm talking. Yes, I was, I think that Move It was probably the first real rock and roll record made in Europe. Because before that, it was all American bands. Because America invented rock and roll.
Yeah.
They gave it to us, but of course we took it, And I think we made a pretty good job of it now. So Move It was, I think, the first record, first real rock and roll record. And of course, my country certainly wanted to have a British Elvis. And I loved the idea.
Yeah.
I was called the Elvis from England, and I was so happy, I really couldn't believe it. I was so happy about that. But as I said earlier, I needed to change. I had to become England's Cliff Richard. That was more important, so I became that.
Move It is probably considered to be one of the best English rock and roll records. Do you think it's one of your best records?
Yeah, I think so. I've made about 84 single records, the small ones. And if someone said to me, pick 3 that you think are really, really classics,
yeah,
not just of mine, but when I listen to all the records, and there are so many fantastic records out today, I would only take 3 of mine to be in the top 100 of my favorite records. Move It is one of them. Do you remember a song called Miss You Nights?
Yeah.
A very beautiful ballad, but it's like singing honey. It's wonderful. That one, Miss You Nights, and Devil Woman. I think they are my 3 classic records. And I'm lucky to be able to think that I have even 3, because some people only make 1 classic record,
Yeah. What are the other records you should put on that list?
Thank you.
Records not made by yourself.
Not made by myself? That changes almost every day, but I would pick something by Fleetwood Mac. Don't Stop by Fleetwood Mac. I love that song. That kind of rock and roll is my kind of music. I would pick Your Song by Elton John. I would pick Very Superstitious by Stevie Wonder.
Yeah.
So there are, I'd pick something by the Beach Boys, anything by the Beach Boys. You know, with the lots of harmonies, I would pick something like that one too. And I think I would pick something like Apache by the Shadows, because of all the instrumental groups in the world, I think they were probably the best known four-piece band in the world. Even bigger than the Ventures, although of course the Ventures had the American market, so they perhaps sold more records. But in all the countries in the world, wherever I go now, they always say to me, how are the Shadows? Everyone still remembers the Shadows.
Yeah, and I don't think you can, I don't think you can underestimate the meaning of the Shadows for as inspiration for young groups started, at least here in Finland and in all the Nordic countries.
Do you know Eric Clapton, of course, and Neil Young, Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. You know, men like that. Fleetwood Mac also, the original Fleetwood Mac. When I met Eric Clapton and I met some of Fleetwood Mac, I've never met Neil Young, but they all said to me, and I've read about Neil Young, though, he wrote in a newspaper that Hank Marvin was their idol. All these great guitarists, they used to love Hank Marvin. He was the one that inspired them. The way that Elvis inspired me, Hank inspired, I mean, it's fantastic to think that Eric Clapton. I mean, I think Hank is very proud. I think he's quite proud of that knowledge. We're coming together, you know. The Shadows and I don't sing together anymore because about 12 years ago, the Shadows, they broke up.
Yeah.
So I lost the band. But I created a new one called Thunder. And they don't work with me all the time. Well, they work with me whenever I make a concert. But like, for instance, now they are all doing sessions. They are working for other musicians. You will probably hear them on Leo Sayer Records or any British artist. You will hear probably my drummer, Graham Jarvis. So I have a new band, but my 25th birthday as a singer was last year. And the Shadows and I thought we would come together for maybe the last time in our careers, I don't know. And we're going to perform 8 concerts in England. It's difficult. We'd like to tour the world, but it's impossible because, as I say, they are not really a band always together. And it's taken a long time to get 5 of us together for 8 days.
Yeah.
So in July, we're going to say hello and goodbye, really, I guess, to all our Cliff and the Shadows fans. And they'll all be nostalgic. I will sing songs like The Young Ones and Living Doll and Summer Holiday and Bachelor Boy. Everything that's been #1, I'm going to sing.
It will be a long list because you've had a lot of...
Well, I'll be doing about 14 or 15 songs, and they also will play 14 or 15 instrumentals. And I discovered that I have 10 #1s, and I will sing 4 or 5 #2s. So nothing I do will be less than a #2 hit record.
Since 1958, you have a almost unbroken string of hits up to now.
Yes, I had in England.
In England, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not in the U.S.
No, in the U.S. I never really had success.
What's the problem with the Americans?
I think they've got
They're
no
strange.
taste. I don't know. I missed it all along the line. When I went there in 1960, we stopped the show. I did 6 weeks of concerts, and there were some wonderful singers. People like, maybe you were too young to remember men like Clyde McPhatter, who used to be one of the original singers of the American group.
I'm not too young.
No, you're not. I'm looking at some of our beautiful young fans here. But Clyde McPhatter, Bobby Rydell, Frankie Avalon, the Clovers, the Crests, Freddie Cannon, a huge name. All these men had top 5 hit records when I went on tour with them. And every night, the Shadows and I would stop the show. Every night, the American public would go, more, we want more. And I thought, wow, we've cracked America. But you see, it's a very big country. And you can be in Dallas, and everyone can be saying, we want Cliff. And in Houston, they don't even know you're in the same state. They don't even know that you're alive. And I didn't really have my record company behind me at that time, so we missed it. And of course, there was always Elvis, Ricky Nelson, Jerry Lee Lewis, Little Richard, Buddy Holly, or the Everly Brothers, all these big stars. And I think maybe Americans thought, we don't need a British star. We have all these wonderful stars of our own, so I missed it.
Are you too British?
I don't think, not anymore, I don't think, because about 1976, I released a record called Devil Woman. And that sold more than 1 million copies in America.
Yeah.
And it was my first big hit. And since that time, I had 8 more singles that were in the top 30 in America. But you see, that may sound good. 9 top 30 singles would be very good anywhere in the world. But in America, it means not too much, because you have to have a long playing record in the top 20 before you can really bring the crowds in to see your concerts. Because I know that my band and I have got a really good concert now. We've been doing it for a long time. We know what to do. And the few concerts I've done, for instance, at the Greek Theater in Los Angeles, I did concerts in New York, and right down the middle of America, we always had wonderful reviews in the newspapers. Always they said, this is very good rock and roll. But I need that album, so I'm still waiting. But I don't mind waiting.
What about Silver? I know that Donna is doing quite well in the States now.
Donna,
as a single.
Yes, Donna as a single has just been, just entered the one of the charts. They have so many charts. They have one chart called Adult Contemporary, meaning that there are certain radio stations that perhaps your mothers and fathers would listen to, because Donna is a very beautiful ballad. So therefore the record is becoming a hit in that chart. But it must go into the other chart before I can say that I have a hit with Donna. So I'm waiting like this again. Who knows? Who knows if Silver will make it? I think that if I'm to make it in America, my record company will have to present me as somebody new, you know? And at the moment, I always feel that they present me as a star. And of course in America, I'm nobody. I go shopping in America. It's wonderful. It's probably the only country in the world where I can go into a shop and I can buy my food and no one looks at me, no one cares, they don't know who I am. And it's really good. And one day I was having a haircut in America and this man said to me, he's cutting my hair. He said, what do you do for a living? And I thought, shall I lie or shall I tell him? I said, I sing. He said, do you make any money? And I tried to explain, that there is a world outside America that you can, yes, make money outside America. Americans think that unless you're a success in America, then there's nothing else. But when I told this man I had sold millions of records, he could hardly believe it. It gave me pleasure to see his face.
I know what you could do in America, too.
What's that? Tell me.
What about a good old-fashioned scandal?
A scandal?
Are you probably too clean, too...
No, I'm not.
There has never been anything bad written about you.
No, I hope not.
I never read anything.
I don't want anything bad written about me.
Aren't there any black spots down deep? You haven't...
Oh, they are, but I'm not going to tell you about them. And I don't see why the world should know about them. There are, nobody ever really goes like this and says, look at me. No one pulls the skin away ever. Because we are all very vulnerable. We're always frightened of what people will think about us. Some people don't care. But that's not actually the real them. I always believe that many times when you see the image of some rock and roll singers, where they spit at their audience and they pronounce hate instead of love, in fact, when you meet them, sometimes I've been so surprised they're really quite nice people.
Yeah.
So what they are presenting is a fake image. So I'm saying to people, look, nobody is perfect. But I will be as perfect as it is possible for me to be in public. Because I don't believe that rock and roll needs to be bad. If it was necessary to be a bad man to make a hit in the States, then I would never have got any of my records in the top 30. The fact that I have had 9 top 30 hit records in America means that they will buy my music. I now have to make them see that the albums are also as good as the singles. And that's the problem. It has nothing to do, I don't believe, with a good or a bad image. Besides, as a Christian, I don't want to do anything that's fake, and I don't want to do anything that will make God look bad. That's my responsibility. All of us, any of us who say we are Christians on this earth, we represent him. Well, I think he is more important than the American market. For me.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. Do you have any conflicts ever with your faith in your Christian faith and the rock music business? Yeah. I mean in terms of texts and things like that.
Well,
a song
yes.
called Devil Woman, for example.
Well, I changed some of the words of Devil Woman, just a few, to make it what it is. Because, you see, in the Bible, we're told that it's bad for us to be involved with the occult. You know the occult?
Yeah.
With Satan worship, with mediums.
Yeah.
We're told that it's unhealthy for us. So as a Christian, I believe it's good to give a warning, and Devil Woman is a warning. It was great pleasure for me and very encouraging for me to receive a letter from a girl in Australia. I was touring there, and it was in Melbourne, in Australia, and she wrote to me and said, I was going to become a Satan worshipper. I was really depressed, and I wanted to find something, and I was going to go to one of these churches, a bad, Satan worshipper church. And she said, a friend of mine said to me, before you make this decision, please play this record. And it was Devil Woman. And in the letter she said, I listened to Devil Woman because she said she was a fan of mine. And I heard the lyrics, and I listened, and I heard the warning. And she said, I just want to tell you, I did not go. I am now, after some months, I am now a Christian, and I go to a proper church. And I thought, oh, that means that Devil Woman was probably made for that one girl. Okay, I sold 1 million or maybe 2 million records around the world, but in fact, God used those words to stop that one woman from being destroyed.
So, you're very aware of your position as a person who can be a model for young people.
Yes, I do.
And you're consciously trying to think of that position.
Yeah, I'm aware that many people, particularly young people, look to us. And what they see of us sometimes decides what they're going to be. So that if, for instance, you have two choices. One man says, yeah, drugs is okay. And I say, no, it's not. I would rather the young people believe me. Because I know that many people who have been 14, 15, 16 have died. They're no longer alive now because they believed the drugs was okay. And so I feel responsible, and I know it's a position. But I also know that we cannot control people. We can only suggest that there is a good way of life. I can only say to you that I find that being a Christian is the best thing to be. I can only say that. I cannot make people believe that. So that my influence is small. I think that politics, perhaps, and newspapers have more power than us rock and roll people. But nevertheless, we are in the world of the arts, and therefore sometimes we reflect what people think, and a lot of the times we also can influence the way things go, the way fashion goes, the way we think, sometimes, only sometimes. So I'm very aware that we do have some power, and that it's about time that people who are in my position grew up. I think I won't mention any names, but maybe you read about the story, so you'll know who I'm talking about. I read once that somebody, a rock and roll singer, well-known rock and roll singer, came home on a jumbo jet in the first-class cabin, and he put honey and jam all over the seats and champagne and beer everywhere. And I thought, this is a man. He's more than 30 years old and behaving like a little baby who should be slapped, And because he can afford to pay for it, he does that. Now, I find that really bad. I find it really silly and like a baby. If my sister's children did that in my house, I would put them across my knee and go, naughty, And sometimes I feel like taking some rock and roll singers and going, naughty, because it's crazy. Why don't they behave like people? We're surrounded by people here. We're not surrounded by stupid people. They're people. So why do we behave stupidly sometimes? So I feel very strongly about that.
You probably should ask Thatcher for the authority to...
I should ask what?
Margaret Thatcher for the authority to...
Margaret Thatcher would be a good person to do that.
Do you follow...
Not to her, but from her.
Do you follow politics, everyday politics, in newspapers and so on? Are you a very, very political person?
No, I must say I'm not really. I find it a little confusing because I'm sure it's the same here. When you have a poll to vote for a government, usually on television, there are three different, the Liberal Party, the Conservative Party, and the Labour Party. They usually have time on television. And I look, and they say, each one of them says really good things. Yeah. They all say, yes, we must try and get rid of this housing problem. We must get rid of the unemployment problem, and you think, but they all want that. And I find it very, very confusing. So in the end, you vote for the group that you think is the best of three. But usually you're not really convinced of any of them, I think. And it's very difficult. But I read it, of course I read it because it governs our lives. So I need to know what's happening. I don't always agree with what happens in our parliament, but we've got it, and it's the best there is, I believe, in the world. I think our Parliament, they call it the mother of Parliament, don't they? But it's still, it's not perfect. But then, nobody's perfect. I suppose sometimes we expect perfection where we can't get it. But maybe expecting it's a good thing. Maybe we should continue to expect perfection, and maybe one day we'll get close to it.
So what do you do when you're not performing? You probably read a newspaper or a magazine. Or do you read books at all?
Yeah, I read books. If I have nothing to do, usually it starts the night before, because I always like to go to bed and I do not put the alarm on. So for me, when I don't put the alarm on, that's the beginning of my day off, the night before. It doesn't mean that I sleep all day, but it just means that I can wake up whenever I want to. And I usually wake up 8 or 9 o'clock, and I walk my dogs. I have 2 little dogs, and I walk them. I live very near a golf course. I don't play golf, but it's fabulous for walking the dogs on. And I train them not to chase the balls, so they're very good dogs. And I play tennis. I play a lot of tennis if I can. It keeps me very fit, and also I like playing tennis. I've only been playing a couple of years, but I'm learning very hard to do it correctly. I'll never be Bjorn Borg, but I can be the best 70-year-old. One day.
I think I'll have to try that too.
Yeah. That's basically my days off I spend very easily, very casually. Maybe I'll go out to have a meal at night. I like to see a good movie, but my favorite movies are science fiction movies. But once, I didn't see this Return of the Jedi yet. I must see that, but I saw Star Wars and the second Star Wars. And Star Trek. Did you ever see Star Trek in this country? Did you ever get Star Trek?
Yeah, it was on the TV.
Yeah? Captain Kirk and the Enterprise. Oh, that is my favorite television show of all time. I want to try it. They made 72, and so far I have videoed only 12. So I still have 60 to get. But one day I have an ambition to own them all.
What kind of a house do you live in? You have a house of your own?
Yeah, it's not a great big house. It's about 4 bedrooms, but I have some special things done to it. One of the special things is over my garage. I have a really big room where I can put my music and play it really loud if I want to. I have a swimming pool with a little small house next to it, which has a sauna. That's
good.
Yeah, that's from Finland, I think. Yeah. So, and it's about, I don't know what 1 acre is. I don't know how to explain it. It's not a big piece of ground, but it's a good size, and it's a very nice garden, very English sort of garden. And not too, it's not like Hollywood, but it's very comfortable.
And you live there alone with your dog?
I live with some friends, because my sisters got married, and my mother also got remarried, and I didn't like living on my own. So I lived with some friends. So it's easy for me. It's like having another home. It's like having a second mother. It's very good for me. I'm not there very often, but when I go home, I get spoiled.
You haven't married yet. This question must come.
It does? It must come?
Yeah.
Well, no, I haven't got married yet, but I've been close to it a couple of times.
Yeah, so the papers tell me.
Yeah. I don't know that I'll ever get married. Sometimes I think...
you like it like this?
Yeah, I do. But when I think of marriage, a good marriage is really good. I mean, I look at it with a certain amount of envy and think, yeah, that would be really good. But then I've got lots of friends who are not married also, and a lot of friends who are. And I don't see that my unmarried friends are any more unhappy than my married ones. So, well, maybe if I never get married, I shouldn't worry. When I was young, when the Shadows and I first began, I was so worried that I was not married. Because all my friends got married when they were like 17 or 18. I think it's a little too young for a man, especially. And I didn't get married. And it's a terrible thing to have to say, but most of my friends who got married at that age are no longer married, or they are married to somebody else. And I thought, oh, I'm so glad really that I waited. Now I still wait. I have a really nice girlfriend. I see her very often.
Who?
She's a tennis player called...
Chris Evert-Lloyd.
No, she's married.
Oh, shit.
Chris Evert married. She's married to John Lloyd, yeah. No, it's a girl called Sue Barker. And she used to be number 3 in the world. And since she met me, she dropped me.
And you started to play?
I started to play, yeah. She teaches me. But see, we don't really speak about marriage. I don't know where that's going to lead. But all I know is that we have a very fine relationship and we enjoy each other's company. And I'm happy with that for the moment, anyway.
That was your personal life. Shall we leave that now?
If you like to
say something else?
No.
The LP Silver,
Yeah.
or the double LP really, rock and roll and silver.
Yeah.
One of them, well, you can tell me about that.
The Rock and Roll Silver is a tribute to rock and roll. And what I did was I worked in a contemporary way with silver, with using a lot of electronic music, and about 5 different producers. And on the Rock and Roll Silver album, my band played, and we did things live in the studio, which is unusual today. Normally we go in and we do drums first, and then we put synthesizers, then the guitar, then I will do a voice, and everything is done like that. But this time we did it, nearly all of it live in the studio, and then we added things afterwards. So it's an interesting sound. And we managed to capture, I think, the old excitement, but with the contemporary recording technique, which makes it wider. Things like on the album, I won't be singing it tonight, shame, maybe next time I come back I'll do it, but Bebopalula, we did it live, just 4 guys playing. Then we put a guitar solo on, and I said to the engineer, how can we make it sound mono, but not mono? You know, because everyone records in stereo now. And he said, I'll tell you what we'll try. So they can split the sound with this special machinery. They took it mono into this speaker, mono into this speaker, and they put it mono in the middle. And what they did was they turned this one slightly up, this one slightly down, and this one was normal. So when you listen to it with earphones, it goes, and it's wonderful. So it still has the old feel, but there's something different. And now I've told you the secret. But there is something different, and that's the difference.
But isn't it very dangerous to remake these old classic songs, like, for example, Tutti Frutti, when you have this Little Richard version up here in your mind? And
it's not difficult,
could
really.
anyone make it any better?
You mustn't try and make it better. You have to try and make it different. Because the song is great anyway. I mean, those rock and roll songs were fantastic, and they still are. So what you do is you say to yourself, no, I won't compete with Little Richard because he did it. He was the first. So that's probably the best version ever. But we can do it differently and give it a different form of excitement. That was a black singer singing it, and this is a white singer singing it. So I want to do it with white soul. And so therefore my version of Tutti Frutti, I don't think it's worse than his. It's just different. That's all. And that's the answer. And also if you treat the songs with reverence, many people make old rock and roll songs, and they make fun of it almost, you know?
Yeah.
You know, they joke a little too much. Whereas it's good to laugh at yourself, but don't laugh at the song. So that when I sing Tutti Frutti, I sing it the way I would have sung it 25 years ago. And it's today's voice, of course.
Yeah, one can feel it, that you have the love for the song.
Oh, I love rock and roll, and I like that early rock and roll. But as I said before, it's no point. Artistically, it's too easy to copy the old. Although I say easy, it would be easy to sing it the old way, but recording is difficult now. Because when I did a record once a few years back, and I said to the engineer, I played him Jerry Lee Lewis's Whole Lot of Shaking Going On, and it starts off with a piano that goes, boogie piano. I said to him, this is the sound I'd like. He said, I can't give it to you. He said, why not? And he told me that our microphones are so good now, they can't get the sound so bad. Half the excitement was that the equipment was different. It was a primitive, old equipment, and it got a certain sound. So that made me think, let's not copy the old songs. Let's just do them in a new way. And that's what I try to do on Rock and Roll Silver. Lucille is a brand new arrangement. I mean, my band did that arrangement. It's a fantastic arrangement. It's based on the old one. Lucille went, dun 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 dun. That one, yeah. Right, he's a very old man. He really is an old man. So all we've done is taken like half of it. So it goes dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
And we've sort of split, and it's new. Suddenly it's new. But we are still paying respect and tribute to good old rock and roll.
Are there any difficulties finding songs now? One should think that almost all the themes are already made.
Well, I think most themes are, yeah. But it's like Shakespeare, you know. They say that Shakespeare got in first and he wrote everything. And apparently there are only 7 plots. But that doesn't stop many, many plays coming out. There are many ways of presenting those 7 plots. And the same with music. Of course, everyone has sung about I love you. Everyone has sung I miss you. Everyone has sung about I need you or my love is gone. But there are different ways of doing that. So there's never any difficulty. And finding songs seems to be almost easier now because I only have to let people know that I'm making a new album, and hundreds of cassettes come to me. Hundreds. It takes a long time to listen to them. But
you listen to all
I do, and I have a man who runs my publishing company, he also, my manager. We all listen, and then we put the ones we think are best together, and then we listen together. I mean, finally, you see, I have to have the choice, because once I make the record, I have to live with it for many years. So I won't just record a song because my manager says this one's good. If I agree with him, then fine, and usually, of course, I do. Usually I find the songs are good. And sometimes I say, no, I prefer this one. So we throw that one away and then do this one. But it's become easier in a way to find songs. It was very easy to find songs for Silver. I had no difficulty whatsoever. And I thought each song was really good.
Thank you for talking to me, and
my pleasure.
I wish you all the best in the future, and hope to see you soon here again.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.